one of the greats, Peter Gammons, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Peter?
I'm doing very well. I think Tim Tebow is not probable for this week.
Now, did he hurt himself sliding into second base in the fall league, Peter? Is that true?
I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, I think that really changes the.
Oh boy!
It really changes the outlook in the Arizona Fall League standings.
Hey,
he might get another hit.
If I'm not mistaken, Peter, the Arizona Fall League is a factor with tonight's designated hitter, correct? And Kyle Schwarber, right? Didn't he have some live pitching there?
He did. I think it was more what he did in the Cape Cod League, which is where they fell in love.
Nice. You love that Cape Cod League, don't you, Peter?
I certainly do. And Kyle Schwarber, he hit like 3 home runs in the first 4 days. Then he had to go to Team USA, and he came back for the playoffs because he loves to play, and hit 2 home runs to win the championship. So we love Kyle Schwarber.
So he's back in the lineup tonight, and I guess before we get to tonight, well, you know, you are a chronicler of the sport of the first order. What has this World Series meant, do you think, to the sport of baseball as a whole? Here.
I think what it's done is show people that at its best, postseason baseball is very different from May and August baseball. To me, it kind of reminds me of how different the games are, how they use relief pitchers, how the games are played, and how tense most of them have been. They remind me of March Madness, which really doesn't have a lot of resemblance to games played in December or January. And it also reminds me of the NHL playoffs. I mean, I can honestly say I don't think I watch a game in the NHL during the season. Get to the playoffs, I find it one of the most compelling things in sport, the NHL playoffs. So I think baseball has been like that this postseason. I think it's been great the way they've used every relief pitcher, the way every at-bat has been so tense. I mean, Kyle Hendricks said to me the other night, he said, you know, these games normally, it's no big deal. You know, you go pitch 7 innings. But everything, because they've been tied one-run games, every pitch that you throw could be the pitch that cost you the game. And that tension is so wearing on players. It's very different. Like when he was pitching against the Dodgers in the closeout of the NLCS, I mean, the Dodgers swung at every pitch anyway. But, I mean, his outing was such a breeze that it really didn't, you know, it was almost like just watching somebody stretching in the gym. But in the rest of those games, it's really been in that game, matter of fact, he pitched out of the stretch 6 pitches the entire night.
That's incredible.
But the next game, every pitch was tense. And I think it's been good to have games, have the Andrew Millers and people like that become so much a part of the game. And managers don't cookie cut their decisions. There are some very unusual things that go on, and I think it's been great for the sport. I really do.
Our former colleague at the Worldwide Leader, Michael Wilbon, lifelong Cubs fan, who was at all 3 games at Wrigley over the weekend, was on the show yesterday, Peter, and he posited a theory that the Cubs will be better on the road because of the pressure of playing for that entire city in that spot to make the dreams come true of all the Cubs fans who did everything they could to scratch and claw to get a ticket to that game, that they're playing with a little bit more house money even though they're down. Would you agree with that?
I think there's something to that. It's one thing, and I think everyone around baseball to say that they cannot believe how well prepared the Indians are. From Derek Falvey, who oversees all that before he leaves to be the president of the Minnesota Twins, right down to Mickey Callaway, the pitching coach, and all the different coaches. Their pitching plans are really difficult to pick up. I mean, I thought Boston, Toronto, the Cubs, fairly good offensive teams, and they've spent the whole postseason waving at bad breaking balls from the Indians because they set everything up so well. They're a very tough team to play, but I do think that it will be easier. I mean, once they won that Game 5, and okay, now we go back. We've got Arrieta, who's been our best pitcher over 2 years. We have Hendricks, who was the best pitcher in the National League this year going. I mean, why can't we win? Matter of fact, I was talking about when their pitchers were hitting on Sunday. They were all excited about hitting because they knew they weren't going to hit again this year. because the game's for Cleveland, and then, of course, the season's over. So, but I don't know. I really sense the feeling that they really believe they'll come back and win. And I think there is something to it. Did Mr. Wilbon, by the way, tell you that he lives in the same building as Kyle Schwarber?
No.
Oh, yeah. No. I ran into Michael on the street. It was what a great treat for about a half-hour conversation.
Huh. Well, if there wasn't a game in Cleveland, that made for an interesting Halloween last night in that apartment building. So Peter Gammons joining me here. What do you think does happen tonight in this World Series game? Is there a Game 7?
I think there will be, just because I think Arrieta is going to come up huge. I'm a big Tomlin guy because Tomlin, people throw, he doesn't throw hard, but he is an absolute master. He hasn't given up home runs since the middle of the season. And one thing he does really well is people go, I know there's a big discussion about him pitching on 3 days rest when he weighs about 160 pounds, but he's one of the few pitchers in baseball that second time around the order pitches much better than the first time around the order, and third time around the order he's much better than he was in the second time. So he's able to go out and come pretty close to giving you 18 outs, which is really important when you've got Miller, Shaw, and Allen to come in out of the bullpen.
And then last one for you, Francona, who you've covered for so long. What makes him so good, Peter?
Well, for one thing, players really trust him. He's very well prepared, and he gives a lot of authority to his coaches to go into game plans. And, he doesn't overcomplicate. I don't think either he or Joe Madden overcomplicate anything. The players know where they stand. They trust him, and they just go out and relax. I mean, I love the fact, for instance, that the Cubs went and they flew at 8 o'clock last night because they wanted their families to be able to take their kids trick or treating. I mean, that's so typical of what the understanding that it's a human game. And Francona, Madden, Theo, Chris Antonetti, they're all masters of understanding the human condition and how it really molds the way people play.
And I guess I'm mandated to ask you, if there's a Game 7, who do you think takes it? What do you think, Peter? Crystal ball it for me.
I think Cleveland wins Game 7.
Wow.
And I'm very excited for the city. I mean, I'm excited for either team, but, it's just different in Cleveland. I mean, when you look, I was telling to somebody, you have to understand, this was once a major metropolis in the country. And when they clinched in 1954 against the Yankees, they drew 85,000 people in the stadium known as the Mistake on the Lake.
Yes.
And, it's only 370,000 people today, and they're trying to rebuild it. And it would be so great to have the Cavaliers and the Indians in 1 year for the rebuilding psyche of the city. It would really mean something. And I spent 11 Januaries flying in here to Cleveland in snowstorms to work with their rookie development program, and I know how much these people have cared. So I look at it and say it's absolutely incredible that they're here.
Peter, thanks for the time. Enjoy the experience. We'll chat hopefully right after the World Series. I'd love to have you right back on.
I'd love to be on. Thanks, Rich.
You bet. That's Peter Gammons at PGammo here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.